Okay, welcome then to this session on systematic literature searching in MEDLINE on the EBSCOhost interface. So in this 60-minute session, you'll be introduced to the advanced search concepts for searching MEDLINE on the new EBSCOhost interface. So I appreciate a number of you have not yet migrated to it. Others have been using it maybe for a matter of months, but there are some developments taking place, some enhancements coming as well, which I may allude to during the course of this session toward the end of the session. So we'll be looking at developing a complex search strategy, incorporating wildcards, proximity search operators, running free text and subject searches using the medical subject headings and applying available filters where appropriate. So there may be some additional things that I will comment on based on questions that were raised during the registration process. So we'll see how you proceed, but just to formally introduce myself, I'm Richard Crooks. I know a number of you have perhaps attended my sessions previously, but for those who haven't, I'm a senior customer training specialist supporting library services in the UK, Ireland, and also the Nordics. So we do have some attendees from the Nordics with us today, which is great. I'm a chartered librarian, having previously worked in the NHS as a medical librarian and related roles, but of course with EBSCO now for more than 14 years. So welcome to the session. In terms of the objectives then, I hope that by the end of the session, you'll be able to plan an appropriate search strategy using the PICO framework. And of course, you may be doing this already in other databases such as CINEL. You will also be able to perform simultaneous title and abstract searches on this platform. You will be able to use the medical subject headings, the mesh terms for authoritative search results, and we'll look at how to combine that with the title and abstract search on this interface as well. And again, combining free text and mesh terms using the search history, and also you'll be able to find the EBSCO training resources in support of systematic searching. So I know our teams that have developed the interface over the last couple of years with all the enhancements taking place are well aware of the needs of yourselves in terms of the more in-depth searching that no doubt you're responsible for either training on or conducting yourselves as well. So again, there's a number of enhancements that have taken shape over the last few months. And of course, for some, this will be a refresher, having attended this previously. So in terms of the beginning then, some initial considerations in the context of a systematic search of literature. The first thing, of course, is why am I searching? It's in support for what? Okay, so the purpose of the search. What am I searching? What are you looking for? The kind of content, the coverage, etc. And also, how am I searching? Which resources will I be using? What limitations? What parameters should I factor into the search itself? And with that in view, we need to consider the types of searches. So, of course, it could be just a simple lookup using MEDLINE to identify one or a small number of research articles that meet a specific criteria. So it could be for the retrieval of specific facts, incidence, prevalence, etc., in response to a specific question. It can be more exploratory to learn about a concept or body of research, including its characteristics. So it could be the terms used, the volume of evidence, the type of research. Again, could be a general scoping search, or as in this case, it could be more systematic. So in other words, you're attempting or advising users how to identify all records on a specific topic through an unbiased, transparent, and reproducible search. So really, it's the third category that we're looking at in this session this afternoon. So in terms of that, we will then approach it in this way. Firstly, we are looking at what is the research question. So you may have a particular scenario which you will translate into a question, or you may already have a research question that you want to translate into a viable search strategy. So we can choose our framework once we have the research question. So obviously I mentioned PICO or PICOT. I'll see more about that as we go through this. But we've got others like CocoaPop, SPICE, SPIDER, Eclipse for non-clinical related topics, others like ECHO, PAO, and so on. And I'll refer to some more in a moment. Then we can devise an appropriate search strategy to search. That means we would look at the synonyms or related terms for each concept. We can search for each concept one at a time, and that can be a combination of title or abstract searching, which I've alluded to already, and also the subject terms, the mesh terms for MEDLINE. Then we can also factor in wildcards and proximity operators, so for like truncation, etc., to enhance or expand our search strings, and so on. And of course, ultimately, we'll be looking at combining the search strings using Boolean logic, typically and or, and possibly excluding with not as well. So this is the approach we're going to take in this session in relation to this particular research question. So for patients 65 years and older, how does the use of an influenza vaccine compared to not receiving the vaccine influence the risk of developing pneumonia during flu season? So you might argue we're now moving away from flu season, as it were. So again, we have this research question, and you can see I've bolded the key terms, elements that we should factor in to creating that search strategy for this systematic literature search. So we've got a patient group. They're 65 and older. Doesn't specify gender. It could do, of course, might do. We've got an influenza vaccine compared to not receiving the vaccine, and then the influence of the risk of developing pneumonia during a flu season. Okay, so you may be one who has the vaccine, you may not have that vaccine. Again, we'll look at the risk of that and the development of pneumonia during that particular time frame, as it were. So this is our research question. Again, already assessing or analyzing the key concepts. And then if we look at the frameworks that we should use. Now, again, obviously, I've indicated we can use PICO or PICOT, the participants, interventions, comparisons, outcomes, and time or type of study. So again, we can have that in view, or we may use some of the others. Now, Andrew Booth et al. Have, as you see there, identified 38 variants, 38 frameworks that can be used in different contexts. So it could be more of a non-clinical query. If you're using a database like Alphabet Elite, it could be in relation to using CINAHL or other EBSCOhost databases, for example. But again, there is a list there. There's a link to the PDF, which will give you a detailed listing of those frameworks. So again, you might want to review that post-session and determine that there may be some others that are more appropriate for your searching. So with that view, again, we're using PICO or PICOT. So we've got the population group. We've already seen that is for patients over 65 and over. We've got the intervention, which is flu vaccine or influenza vaccine, compared to standard or no vaccine, of course. And then the risk or outcome of developing pneumonia during flu season, which is the time element. So in the second row, as you can appreciate, we've got the key terms that we could be using or should be using. If we're looking at older people, then obviously it could be aged, elderly, older person, older people. It doesn't specify age necessarily in the keyword search, but that can be applied for a filter as well. The intervention, of course, influenza vaccine, could be influenza vaccination or flu vaccine, etc. Comparison, no direct comparison in a sense. It's either flu vaccine or none. And then there's an outcome, the risk of pneumonia or pneumonitis or pulmonary inflammation, etc. And in this case, we won't actually apply the time factor, although you could have a type of study, perhaps. So the third row, as you can appreciate, also in uppercase there, relates to the actual subject terms that you could factor into this search, which would be the MESH medical subheadings from the National Library of Medicine. So we've got age 65 years and over, age 80 and over. Of course, age 65 years and over should include that age group. Influenza vaccines is a MESH term. Again, comparison, none. And then the outcome, pneumonia, pulmonary inflammation, to name a few. So obviously, I've nicely labeled this chart. You see the 5 elements, you see the originally identified concepts, and then the alternative expressions, synonyms that I've got there, and the MESH terms, some of the MESH terms that we could be using. Now, you may not know, and probably will not know, the MESH terms initially. In any case, you may explore that in other ways. And it may be that during the various iterations of your search, you will find additional headings that you can factor into it. But we are going to approach it from the perspective of a title abstract search initially, followed by a MESH subject heading search as well. So in terms of title abstract searching, I'm sure most of you are probably aware of this by now, that with the new interface, we launched a new feature, a new combined field code search XB, which allows you to search simultaneously title or abstract. And I've been around long enough at EBSCO to know that this is very much sought after over the years and was launched last year. So title or abstract, so you can simultaneously search either field during the course of a single line inquiry query, as you see that's shown on the screenshot. Now you can also enter the command line query if you prefer. You can prefix the search string with the XB field code. It will do the same thing essentially. So that's how you can search for title and abstract simultaneously. Of course, you may opt for a general unqualified search, and you may not choose the field code when performing a keyword search. Secondly, with the use of MESH terms, subheadings, then we also have the option to browse the thesaurus, which was updated earlier this year for MESH 2026. So when you go to that tab, you can enter your preferred term. So flu vaccine, browse the thesaurus, and it will be mapped to influenza vaccine. And from there, you can select the appropriate heading, as it were. So again, this is the way you can browse the thesaurus to find the appropriate MESH term. There are other ways as well. I might introduce you to that as we have added another feature as well. I think that may be in this PowerPoint. Yes, it is. So suggest subject terms has recently been introduced. So some of you may recall that was available in the classic interface, and some of you are still using it. So suggest terms is a way of prompting users to be directed to the preferred mesh term. So originally that option was above the search box. It's been decided to place that below. You'll see it selected in the screenshot. So you'd enter the keyword search term and tick suggest terms. So you can see that highlighted here. And then what would happen is that when you select suggest terms, the search button changes to suggest terms. And that in turn will then, once clicked, will take you to the mesh thesaurus, and then you will see you've got the term available. So again, the process is enter the keyword search, select suggested terms. That can be defaulted to on, by the way. Then click suggest terms, and then that will map you to the appropriate mesh term. So it's one way of finding out what the mesh term is itself. And you can add that to the search. Okay, so that's the title or abstract and subject searching. Then we have the wildcards. So again, there are ways in which you can apply the syntax to enhance your search to find what's out there. So with truncation, again, many of you may know this already. It's been around with the original interface as well. The asterisk, so you can truncate words and search for more words with multiple ending, like the example shown here with physiology, physiologies, and physiological. So if you place the asterisk after the L, then you'll find those three variations. You can also insert the asterisk between terms as well. So you may have expressions like ventilator-acquired pneumonia, ventilator-associated pneumonia, in addition to ventilator and pneumonia. So if you place the asterisk between ventilator and pneumonia, it will find those other three variations, those other two as well. We also have the exact phrase searching, so the double quotation marks. So that'll find, in this case, influenza, at least one occurrence of the exact phrase that's shown here. You can also replace a single or unknown character with the question mark wildcard. That will find the likes of organization, both with an S and Z, woman or women or men and man. And also another example will be analysis or analyses if you replace the I or the E with the question mark. Now, alternate spelling, probably more used appropriately in Medline than Sinel. You can also add the hash wildcard after the P and E to find pediatrics in both variations of spelling. And likewise with color, if you replace or add the hash wildcard after the O before the R, you'll find both spellings, US and UK. Okay, so again, that option is there, and you can combine that with the asterisk. So if you're looking for pediatrics, pediatrician, and pediatricians for both UK and US English, then you could add the hash wildcard as already shown with the truncation symbol. Okay, and finally, you can find words with exactly one character at the end with the hash wildcard combined with the question mark. So if you're looking for monkeys, not monkey, it would find that. Okay, and you may find other imaginative ways to use that particular functionality. Okay, so again, there's some things there. You don't have to use all of these. You may not use all of these, but they are there if you need to. In terms of proximity search operators, again, many may have heard this or seen this before, but just to clarify, we have near and within on the EBSCO platform. So whether using Medline, Sin, or other EBSCO databases, it's applicable. So near will find words regardless of the order in which they appear or are entered. So gallbladder N2 dysfunction or dysfunctional would find the word gallbladder near 2 words or less of dysfunction or dysfunctional, because I've truncated it there, or dysfunctional or dysfunction within near 2 words or less of gallbladder. So in any order. So again, truncation means I'm looking at dysfunction or dysfunctional. If we use the similar concepts with within, then gallbladder W2 dysfunction would find the term gallbladder within 2 words or less of dysfunction. Key thing here is that the number is literal, unlike some providers where ADJ2, for example, would be 1 word or less, not 2 words or less. So again, just be mindful of that. Multiple terms can also be used on either side of the operator. So for heart attack or myocardial infarction, and for statins means that you'll find heart attack near 4 words or less of statins, myocardial infarction near 4 words or less of statins, as well as statins near 4 words or less of heart attack or myocardial infarction. So just some examples there. We have more, but again, just some ideas how to use this. So what I'll do now is we'll apply some of these principles in this search. So if you have any questions, comments, feedback, or if you need me to slow down, please do that. And as we get near the end of the session, I may allude to some of the upcoming enhancements as well. And there's a page which will detail that, which I can share with you. So first of all, let's go now to my desktop. And right now you should see Medline, you should see The advanced search page, which in my case is the default landing page, that of course is configured in our admin tools. So for those who work in healthcare institutions, this is probably the main point of entry for your users in terms of searching Medline. So we are going to go and run a search on this. So again, a reminder of the interface itself. You've got the field codes here. Again, title abstract is here. We use this. We've also got the option to add more rows. So you can add up to 12 rows here if you prefer. We have the suggest subject terms option available there. And notice as I select that, the button changes to suggest terms, although I've not added anything here yet. So what I can do here is begin my search. So we are looking at older people. So I am going to this time include a search for aged, etc. So what I can do here, enter my free text terms. Now, the or and operators within a search box are not necessarily, you don't have to necessarily add them in uppercase, but generally speaking, it works better if you do. There's always the issue potentially of or, and, or not in lowercase being treated as stop words. So again, that can be mandated. It depends if you're in a consortia. For example, the NHS may have mandated that these Boolean operators should be in uppercase, but generally speaking, the advice based on our documentation is that you would be best adding them as uppercase characters, as it were. So age or elderly or elder, so I can truncate that. Give me some truncation to PowerPoint. I can add the phrase older people as well. Okay, and or old. So I'm not going to use everything here just for the sake of time, but I want to just illustrate some of the key features. And then I can choose from the drop down title abstract. Okay, so this is the first element of the search I'm going to do. So I'm going to run this. Now we have got search options as well available here. So proximity search would be applicable, of course, if you are doing a unqualified field code search, or sorry, unqualified search. So that typically will be near 5 words or less, unless you configure it otherwise. So again, depending on how this being configured for your institution, that would impact an unqualified search. We also have expanders on here, so applied subjects. But again, my understanding is that if you're using the field codes, this will not necessarily be applied to your search. So an expander simply utilizes primarily the thesaurus terms to back up what you're searching in terms of your free text search. But again, we're using the title abstract field code to specify we're searching only within those fields here. So they will be still recorded there. You can leave them unchanged according to the settings you have currently in your institution. But I'll click search now and run the initial search. And what you will see now, and I know some are not seeing this, and I'll explain why. You've got the advanced search result list page. The results are now below for that set. The 3 rows are maintained, and we also have the search history now available. So this was launched back in October. Now I know a number of you are not seeing this primarily because this has not been enabled for you. So when this was released, it was not mandated that every EBSCOhost account should have this on. So again, it may have been done, and it was done for certain consortia like the NHS, possibly the HSE in Ireland, but others had to request this. So again, if your institution does not show the search history when searching from the advanced search page, please contact your local EBSCO account team or let us know with your name contacts, and we can switch that on for you or share information how to do that. Okay, so that's on. It gives me the designated set number S1, the search with the field code indicated, the asterisk and so on, double quotation marks clearly displayed. The search options, again, this may be more appropriate and even more important for an unqualified search. The results, and then of course the database is also indicated here as well. Now in this search string, you'll see for each of these lines, as we'll see throughout the session, there's a tools menu, and here is where you can edit the search. So you can add other terms, okay, here as well. So you can go to edit search. So for example, I could add or a truncation to old for older, and then update the search, click continue, remove this page, and then you'll see the search history has been updated, and now we've got over 2 million results. Okay, so a lot of data there. So again, it's easy to edit the search if you made a mistake or you just feel you should truncate something or add other terms. And you can do that for more than one line. So if I was to enter search terms in the top line, the second one as well, when I click search, I can also edit the combined search as well. That's a new feature as well. Now we are going to look at the current mesh term. So we're going to go to the, just click new search here and go to MEDLINE. Now what we could do is use the suggested terms as well for this. So what I can do here, I can enter aged, okay, as a keyword and browse the thesaurus using the suggested terms. Click this button and it gives me aged, which is what I'm looking for. If I click on aged, it will give me the scope note. So you can see here, it is a person 65 years of age or older, which fits in with our research question. You can see it's used for elderly, okay, and you can see the tree, the mesh tree, and where it sits in under adult age groups, persons, and of course you've got age 18 over as well. So when I select this term, it will be exploded automatically. That's a setting in our admin tool, by the way, and that will include this group as well. Okay, so if I can add to search here, I'm now going to retrieve records which have been assigned the subject heading aged plus aged 18 over, because those age groups are factored into the article or book chapter, report, etc. So I click search now. And then once I've done that, I can combine the two sets into one group. So this is the population group, of course, of PICO, the aged persons, as it were. So I can select those sets, hit combine with or, that places the combined search in the top search box on the left, using the boolean or, and click search here. So now I'm going to group them in one set. So this makes the first one PICO. So we've got 5 million. So a lot of hits, of course, but we'll find ways for us to refine that or combine with the other terms. You'll also notice with the search history, it's in reverse chronological order. If you prefer to see it in sequence, then just click ID and you can see the sequence. Okay. Now, the next thing we'll look at is flu vaccines. So for this, I'll apply the original search that I showed you, or similar to what I showed you in the PowerPoint. So if you put in, for example, flu or influenza in parentheses, I'll put N3. I'll truncate vaccine or vaccinations, vaccine, vaccinated, etc. So that would be vaccine, vaccines, vaccinated, vaccinations, and so on. And then use XB here. Okay, so that could be vaccinations for influenza, vaccinations for flu, or flu vaccine, or influenza vaccine, etc. Using the precision operator, the proximity operator N. Okay, and then I will just run the search again in the title RSET fields. So that then appears in the search history below as set 4, S4. Again, you see the results, the number, and also we're still using MEDLINE currently. So again, the next element of this, so this is the intervention, is to explore the mesh headings. So I can go in here, or just simply, I can actually go here and put in the vaccine on this page. Click suggest so it terms, click suggest terms, and I'll be directed here. And as you can see, I'm prompted to use the mesh term influenza vaccines. I can select it, or I can just go in, and you can see here the scope note and what it's used for. So in other words, if you were to do a keyword search or to suggest subject term search for any of these terms, you'll be mapped to influenza vaccines as expected. Okay. And again, the subject tree is given there, and you can see where that sits within viral vaccines, etc. within mesh. So with that in view, I can add to the search, click search here. And again, it appears in the search history. So I combine S5, or S4, S5, combine with the OR, and you'll see the sets are there above. And click search. Okay, so we've done that. Just going to check if there's any questions or comments so far. Again, if you need to, or be unmuted, I can unmute you as well, by the way, if you select the raised hand icon. Or if you've got any comments or questions about what you've seen so far, please post it in the Teams chat and I'll respond as soon as I can. Okay, so just working our way through this research question. So we've covered the population group, the age 65 and over. We've looked at intervention, and now obviously no direct comparison. So you could say no vaccine is implied, but we are looking at the comparison now with the risk of pneumonia. So for that, again, we'll go to the top of the search screen. We'll enter our term here. So we'll also truncate pneumonia, because it could be pneumonitis. So I'm going to truncate it here. We're also looking at pulmonary or lung information. So what I can do here is, in fact, let me do it this way. I'll change this somewhat. So lung, or pulmonary. See into my N3 information. Okay. Or do this. Let's see. Pneumonitis again, pneumonia. Okay. And then title abstract. So again, we're using a combination of the new operator here, truncating as well. So we'll run this search. Again, this could be the first iteration. You may want to revise this later, especially once you've looked at the results and some key articles. You may get clues for additional terms, etc. So again, we're running this. So we've got the results there. And then the next thing, of course, is the equivalent mesh term. So again, we can use suggested terms, or if you feel more comfortable, we can just click new search or go to MEDLINE Mesh 2026. It takes you here. You have to clear the screen here. And then we'll go and enter, let's see, pneumonia. Okay. Oh, I'm not sure what happened there. Pneumonia. I see a typo there. So again, as my former library manager said, never believe a zero. Either you've mistyped it or there's another term that you should be using, pneumonia. Okay, and then we can click on the term. Again, you can see that there and see when it's used previously. Select the term itself and then scroll down, and you might find there's other terms that you might want to use as well, possibly. So just going to scroll down. Let's see any more we can use. Of course, we've got lung diseases there as well. Okay. We use this one as well. I guess it's pneumonia. Okay, you see there's also the subheadings as well. You can use those. So I click on this little arrow. You can be more specific in terms of this condition, etc. So diagnosis, etc., drug therapy, and so on. So again, each of these, by the way, has its own scope note. So you can be more focused. And that may be in relation to other types of searches rather than this kind of systematic search, as it were. So again, you can do that. Okay. Let's see anything else here that I want to use. And you can see the different terms appearing there in the subject tree. So you'll find that the term is repeated in the subject tree because it features in different elements of the mesh tree, as it were. So again, bear that in mind. That's why it's repeated. So if I just go to the top of the screen and add to search, then I'll just click search here and bring back results in the search history. So I have the search set there, and I'll then combine the two with or, and then run that. Okay. Okay, so we've done the four elements, if you like, or minus the comparison, and we're not factoring flu season at this time. So if I just resort in sequence, you'll see we've got the first element, which relates to the age group, the population group, the patient group, over 65, the intervention. So that is set 3 combined. The title and subject search for influenza vaccine is also included here. That's the intervention. And then we have the comparison, the outcome, which is the risk of developing pneumonia. So we've got 3 sets here to combine. So once we've selected those search sets, so S3, S6, S9, we can use the Boolean AND here, combine with and then run the search to generate a kind of final set of results before we apply any other filters to the search itself. So we've got 1,400 records. Now, of course, You can look at the results initially, and of course, in terms of a system review, you may already want to save these records and screen them, etc., before doing anything else. In this instance, we will apply a couple of filters. The first one will be the dates. So we are going to look at, let's see now, let's go for the last 10 years. So what I'll do here, you've got these options, the past 12 months, past 5 years, past 10 years, or you can go for a date range. You can actually enter the year. So if I could literally put in 2016 and 2026. Okay. So this is customizable. So if you want to do just certain time frame, like 2021 to 2024, you could, etc. So I'm going to use this feature just to demonstrate how this works. So if I apply this filter here, you'll see that button is now indicating that we are retrieving records published since January 2016. It says December, that's the default setting, but it really means right now, of course, April, the end of April. So we've got it down to over 1,000 records have been published since the last 10 years. So the majority of those records that we retrieved originally have been published since 2016. And we can also apply other filters. So for example, if we go to all filters, we can also apply English here as well. So I do that. And while I'm on this page, you will see there's also an age filter, and we have age 65. So one thing to know about these filters, age and gender, is that they relate to the indexing of content in MEDLINE. So if you're looking for in-process or ahead-of-print records, you may not want to filter by these two filters, because that will only retrieve records that have already been fully indexed, as it were. So you may find there are articles that have not yet been indexed, not been assigned age or gender headings, if gender is appropriate. So with the typographic search, we will pick those ones up. But obviously, if we filter by these filters, we are going to miss some of those records. So again, it's your call how you use them. But we will use the language filter for English only at this stage. And once I've done that, you will see those filters are also included in the search history. So for S11, we added the publication date range, that's 10 years. And then in the second, in S12, set 12, we've got English language. So it does record that here within the search history. Okay. So that's how we're searching. I've got a question here from Chris. Will the combine with and/or buttons become automatic as in the current interface, or can it be changed at a local level? So, yeah, if you're talking about these buttons, I'm assuming that you're talking about these buttons in this bar here. These are obviously things that you have to select manually. So again, you would choose the two sets and then choose the appropriate button to combine them. I'm trying to cast my mind back to classic EBSCOhost. I haven't used it for a while. Obviously, you can insert terms on the top search box with the second one and combine them in that way as well. So in theory, you could do a typographic search combined with a mesh search if you know the terms specifically. So for example, here, if you already know the mesh term, then you could enter that here. So I could have input, for example, aged or elderly, etc., and added aged, right? Because that's the mesh term. So, and I could put or here. So again, I could do it that way, but that really presupposes you're familiar with the mesh indexing and the term that you should be using. So again, that may not be that often you do that, although you can use tools like MEDLINE, others to identify mesh terms, etc. Right. Oh, I see. Yeah. Currently, yeah, I get your point. Currently, you don't have to press search. Yes, point taken. I will note that. Yes, that is one of the observations that we had early on, which you've kind of taken it for granted now. But yeah, so what Chris is saying, in the past, when you select a set here, again, if I use this example, and click combine with or, it would automatically run it. Whereas now, when you add these terms, you've got to click again. So that's a good observation there. Yeah, a good reminder. So yeah, that is the way it works here, and that's in contrast to the previous interface. Yeah, so thanks for that. Thanks for clarifying that. So yeah, that's right. At the moment, it doesn't do it automatically. I think it's been raised with our product managers. but happy to raise it again with them. Okay, so that may change, but I can't say that for sure at this time. So we've got results here, and obviously primarily we're focused on the searching aspect here, but I know that one of the questions came up in the initial registrations is the exporting and also future enhancements, which I'll refer to in a moment, and also downloading the search as well. So obviously I do cover this in other sessions, but just for your information, for those who've asked about exporting, if you've got 1,000 records here, I know one comment was about, can it be increased to more than 50? That is coming, by the way. So what I mean by that is, if I was to select this set here, you'll see you're limited to only 50 items can be selected at a time. So if I was to download, I download 50. If I was to save, I save 50, etc. If I share, I only save 50 or email 50, etc. So that's quite limiting. So that is changing. That will be raised to 500. Okay. So again, I'll refer to the documentation on that. So that is going to be changing soon. So it will be much more than 50. Okay, so that's changing. So again, I just save these items here. So they're saved in the save folder on the left-hand column under my dashboard. So you'll see those as records set in the save folder. Okay, so they should be appearing shortly. Now at this time, when you saved items like I've just done, if you don't have EBSCO single sign-on as they do in the NDTS, which means that when you authenticate with Open Athens to MEDLINE, for example, you are automatically signed into a personal folder. So your items will be saved beyond the session automatically. Here, and this may be true for most of you, you need to create a MyEBSCO account here in order to save those beyond the session. And we do also support Google sign-in. So you'd add your name, your email address, so last name is optional, not required, your password, relating the criteria, and then agree to the consent form and create the account. If you have already created the account, or once you've done that, you can then sign in here, enter your username, and sign in. That will then make sure that your saved items are there beyond the session. One thing it will also do when you save items to the save folder, it will append those save records to previously saved records unless you've removed them. So there is a way now to remove these records. So you can see I've got over 900. So 50 of these are from my recent search in MEDLINE today. However, you can unsave items. Oh, not sure what happened there. I clicked one and the whole lot's gone. So I must have done that accidentally. So basically the bottom line is, and I'll probably resave some records in a minute, you can save and unsave, basically. So once you've saved items, you can unsave them. So I just go back here. Okay, if I just do that again. So I'll hide the search history, by the way. You can hide the search history by clicking on the arrow, and that's hidden in the background. So you can focus on the search results. So at this stage, I can, deselect here. Let me just deselect these ones, but all of them, reselect them. So I can save here. Okay, go back to my save folder, and I know what's going on there. Interesting. Been a few glitches today, so I don't know. Again, there's a lot of work behind the scenes going on, so I'm not sure what happened there. So sorry about that. Thought I could show you that, but anyway, these are demo sites, by the way. So again, sometimes they're in development while I'm using it, changes being made, etc. So it could be something happening behind the scenes. Just going to refer to a question from Peter. I'm doing a search for staff having their search published as articles in peer-reviewed journals. In OEB MEDLINE, I initially used IN for that search in EBSCO MEDLINE. What do I use in EBSCO MEDLINE? Is it author address? So research published as articles in peer-reviewed journals. So you have to use a for author affiliation for that search too. Okay, so let me go back. We'll see what fields we've got here. So we've got all fields there. Author address. So author address is author affiliation on there. Okay. If you want the definitive listing of the field codes and what they cover, go to the online help. Scroll down, and you'll see there is the database help, EBSCO database help files. Click on that link, and then it will give you the various versions of MEDLINE to choose from. So if you subscribe to MEDLINE Ultimate, you've got that one, or MEDLINE with full text. But I'm using MEDLINE, the basic version. So I click on that, and I have to click on that again and save this file. and then open it up. And this will give you the original help file that was there with the classic interface. So the thinking was, rather than have these individual help files that needed constant updating, there's just one link to EBSCO Connect, and there you can find the relevant help file there. So this is not really changing, but you'll see here we've got the field codes, and you can see here author address, which is the institution of affiliation or address of the first author. So that is one that you would use. IN you mentioned. I'm going to scroll down and see what we have here. No, we don't have IN here. So I need to clarify that one. Let's see. Yeah, name, person, and so on. So might need a bit more context of that. If you're looking at peer-reviewed content, obviously, if we go back to the search itself, there is a peer-reviewed filter here. So if I click that filter, that should be applied to the search. So 1,000 of these are peer-reviewed. So much of the content in MEDLINE is already peer-reviewed. Again, if we look at one of these records here, you'll see the bibliographic data that we have for it. So authors there, source, publication type, journal information. Okay, and let's see, print, mesh terms, abstract, entry dates, update code, update ID. So again, I'm not sure, we may need to discuss that offline. Yeah, so we have got author affiliation or author address that is available from the drop-down field codes you used previously as well. Also, if we get a new search here, you'll see that other filters shown on this page. Again, review articles there, see publication, author, citation subset, and you can see in process there as well, by the way, picture, and so on. Okay, age rated, and we referred to that earlier. So, okay, good. That answers your question. Great, it's good to know. So AF is there. Okay, again, in the drop-down menu, it's available, so you can use that as a command line query if you need to as well. Okay, so again, that's a listing of all the field codes, and then the database help file will detail how you can use that, and also the actual description of what it's doing, etc. Okay, so just going back to the search itself, so I know there was a comment about in the registration process about exporting. So with this list, for example, we looked at saving. You have the option also, of course, to download these, by the way. So again, that will increase from 50. So PDF, Word, CSV, etc. all supported. XML is also supported as well. So again, you can download the document there. You can also share via Google Drive, OneDrive, and also email. And this is recently enhanced. So those of you who may not have seen this in previous sessions, this was released a couple of weeks ago. We have the preferred display, brief citation, which allows you to include the abstract, or if preferred, go for the detailed citation, and now that can include the abstract also, but also these other fields. So if it's important for you to annotate, shared records with language, for example, or public ID, they can also be included or excluded. Okay, so again, this is an alternative way of displaying the results and sharing them via email. And of course, we do have the citation style, which in this demonstration is defaulting to Harvard, but you've also got APA, Chicago, MLA, and so on. So that's a new feature there. Okay. In terms of exporting, then you can do a direct export from this list, by the way. So again, if you go to the cite tool icon there, you'll see you can copy the citations in their preferred format. Again, you can choose alternative ones, but we've also got the direct export here into RIS format, RefWorks, EndNote, etc. Okay, so some prefer to use this feature as opposed to the standard exporting from the result list. But also the limit on numbers that you're exporting is limited using this tool. On the other hand, if you use the main export tool on the result list, select these, and you'll see you can export up to 25,000 records. So in completing this form, and because I'm signed into my EBSCO account, I'm already signed in here. So you will need to sign into a personal user account, my EBSCO, for using this feature. Okay, be prompted to sign in. And if you don't have the account, you can create one. So you can then choose risk format, for example, and send a link for downloading the metadata for your results, and that will be valid for up to 7 days. Okay, so that's just the export feature, and that was asked about in one of the questions or comments in terms of what you need to know. So again, this feature is available for send out in other databases. So again, this is an option which is switched on. If you don't see that option available currently for your institution, for your library service, for your users, then let us know. We can enable that for you. Okay, so that's the export results option. If again you go back to, and I don't know if they're saved there now, but let me try again, the save folder, then you can also download from this page as well. So yeah, so they're here now. So you can also download here and do a direct export from this page as well. Okay, if you prefer to do it that way once you've saved them. Okay, so you can download. And there is the project folder too. So project folder is your custom folder where you may want to collate your search results with the original search, and you can add that to a project. So again, if you find one, so for example, this one I've done before, I can add now. Okay, and if I go to my project, you can see it's listed here. And the records will be displayed within the project. Okay, so there's a bulk delete, by the way, feature here as well. You can delete them all or download them from here as well. So if you look at screen them, you can do that here. And the search also could be saved here as well. So if I want to go back to my original search, we plan to cover all this today in this session, as we cover it in other sessions, but just to show you. So if you wanted to save the search, you can overwrite the search string, so it defaults the search string. Let's see. I'll just put that for now. Okay. Okay, and I can save this if I scroll down. Close that, and then if I go now to my save folder, you'll see that stored there under the searches tab. Okay, and what I can do, I can just select this to add to the project, add now, and then go to my project. And if I click on that link, you'll see not only the record saved, the previous session, as it were, the search is also here as well. Okay, and you can go and edit the search if you need to as well, or delete it. Okay, so again, you may have more than one iteration, and then you perhaps go into this one, for example, and delete as no longer required because you've recently run the other search. Stop doing it now. Try that again. Itinerary on project. Okay, interesting. Okay, just go for this one. Yes, that's it. Delete. Okay. Okay, so let's cross the time here. I know we're still a little late. Again, any other questions? Please let me know in the Teams chat if you have any at this time. Let's see. I'm just thinking else I could show you. It's just the search history, I think. If we go to the search history, again, open that up. We can resort this, and we can, of course, also download. So what we can do here, select and download. Choose the format. So if we go, for example, let me show you CSV, download it, save that folder, that file, sorry, and then I'll open this up. Now what I'll do, I'll drag this across so you can see the CSV file in Excel. So what I've done, I'll expand these columns. Okay, so you've got the set number there. The search name is not recorded as such. You've got those columns there, but you can remove these quite easily. You've got the query string there. You could even, that's the original query string, so you could even remove the other elements if you'd like, for example, this one. And then you can focus on the number of results, the different elements that may be applicable to it, which probably not in this case. So there are different ways to enhance this. Okay, so you can see here, and what I could do, since these are not really applicable directly, I can remove these two columns. So you can focus on, and even the interface, well, we can leave that as it is. But you've got the original query, and I'll just differentiate here with the color. You just do it, go there, and load this up a bit. So we've got this is the CSV file, the set number, the query string, the date it was run, the results count, the interface, obviously MEDLINE is the same. Then the publication date, we've also factored in from set 11. From set 12, we've also applied language. Okay, and then from set 13, we've also applied peer reviewed. So again, they're recorded on here. Okay, so again, this is a nice way to render it. Perhaps you can just tidy this up. You know, can add the lines, as it were, if you need to report on this, etc., or need a record of that search. The alternative, of course, is just to download the PDF. Again, I'll just do that quickly. And open this up. You'll see it's rendered in this fashion. Now, there are some changes coming to this. It's going to be streamlined a bit more. We have got, of course, the set number, the query string, the date and time run. That's going to be localized. Numbers given there. The other elements are pointed out as well. So it also see the various combined terms, set numbers. But this is going to be enhanced as well by about June time, I believe. Okay, so it's going to be changing. So a simpler layout, as it were. Okay. In addition to that, you will be able to save search sets. So you'll be able to save this as one search set. There'll be a save search set tab in the save folder, and when you rerun it, it will run as this set. Right now, if I rerun a search, we'll try it now. If we just go to recent activity, for example, or I could go to the save search. I can click on the last set, and that will just display in the search history. Okay, just the final set. Okay, I think it's done that. Why hasn't it done that? It's done it now, yeah, which is the same as before. So it doesn't give you the previous search strings, it just gives you the final set. So with the save search feature, it will give you all search strings. I'm just going to delete that now. So again, I'll refer you to the page. So as I'm conscious of time here, let me go back. In fact, what I might do is go from the help menu, and we're in EBSCO Connect here. So I'm just going to search for this document. And so this is the key one. I think I've got it in the PowerPoint as well. So new EBSCO user interface updates for advanced search and systematic reviews. So you can see what's recently released, but there's also, that is now, I believe, the edit combined searches. I think that is live. I've seen it work. But coming soon to June. Again, there's improving design consisting of bulk action toolbars, increasing the bulk action threshold from 50 to 500. That is where you save, add to a project, email, site, download, etc. Bulk actions for searches within the search history on the advanced results page, download, save, add to project. Okay. And then ability to view results of a search without rerunning it in a search history. Ability to save and manage assets for searches from search history. This relates to Prisma on advanced search results page, etc. So again, a number of things that are coming out. Okay, so we've had the live demonstration. Again, reminder of PICO that we ran through. So again, this has got the different elements of PICO. So you've got the initial search strings, and then combined ultimately with the search parameters, filters also recorded in the search as well, and also the database indicated, which of course is MEDLINE. And again, we looked at some of these tools earlier, the cite tool, and then you can copy the citation or email as needed, and of course that's updated as well. And in addition to the introduction of the wildcards, proximity search operators, we have this EBSCO search syntax help sheet, which is available through EBSCO Connect. So it gives you definitions of the various elements and how you might use them on EBSCOhost. Okay, so it's available. In terms of that, we've got other support as well. Our UK YouTube channel is hosting these webinar recordings once they've been edited. So again, you can refer to that to view previous recordings. And then we have the EBSCO Connect portal as well, which you've seen today. And from there, you can also link to EBSCO Academy, which provides you with additional videos, tutorials, etc., and also upcoming training sessions, which may not be directly related to EBSCOhost, but other platforms that we support as well. And of course, the EBSCO Healthcare Training Resources portal, which is where you have the majority of tutorials, help sheets, guides that relate to MEDLINE and other healthcare databases included. So it's collated them all together in one place. So again, you can check the training videos. That'll take you to the EBSCO UK YouTube channel. Training sessions will detail the sessions that I'm running in the coming weeks. I have more to add. And then support information takes you to the handouts. And I've included some links to documentation here as well. So I'm happy to stop there, but I'll see if you've got any further feedback or comments about the interface, maybe from your end users as well, then please let us know and we can feed that back to product management and other colleagues, etc. Okay, thank you very much. And feel free to contact me directly if you need to follow up this session as well at arcooks@ebsco.com.